Scripture portions of the day. Day 307.
John 15, OANT. I am the living Elohim, the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch on me not yielding fruit, he takes away, and that which yields fruit he purges, that it may bring forth much fruit. But now on you are purged because of the word I have spoken with you. Stay with me, and I am in you. Just as the branch cannot yield fruit by itself unless it remains on the vine, so neither do you unless you stay with me. I am the living Elohim, the vine, and you are in the branches. Whoever abides in me, I in him, this one brings forth much fruit, because without me you can do nothing. If a man does not abide in me, he is thrown away like shriveled up branch, and they gathered it, throwing it into the fire to be burned. And if you are abiding in me, and my words abide in you, everything whatsoever you desire to ask, it shall be done for you. In this the Father is glorified, that you will bring forth much fruit, and that you will be my disciples. Just as my Father loved me, even so I have loved you. Continue in my friendship. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands, and I abide in his love. I have spoken these things, that your joy may be in you, and that your joy may be perfected. This is my commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. There is no greater love than this in the person who would lay down his life for the sake of his friends. Are you my friends if you will do all that I commanded you? I call you servants, because the servant does not know his father does, but I have called you my friends, because all that I have heard from your Father I have taught you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and I have appointed you so that you will also bring forth much fruit, and your fruit will remain, so that you will ask the Father in my name, and he will give you. These things I command you, that you will love one another. And if the world hates you, it hated me before you. And if you had been from the world had loved its own. But you are not from this world, but I have chosen you from this world, because the world hates you. Because the word that I have spoken to you, that there is no servant greater than his master. If they have persecuted me, they will persecute you also. And if they have kept my word, they will also keep yours. They will do all these things among you because of my name, because they do not know him who has sent me. If I do not come to speak with them, then they would also have no sin. But now there is no covering for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done the works in their sight which no other man had done, they would not have sinned. But now they have seen and hated me and my Father also. The word which is written in their law may become fulfilled. They hated me for nothing. But when the Redeemer of their curse comes, him I shall send to you from the presence of my Father, the Spirit of truth, whom proceeds out of the presence of my Father. He shall testify concerning me. You also are testifying, who are with me from the beginning. Revelations 14, OANT. And I saw, and behold, the Lamb standing at Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who have his name upon them, and the name of his Father written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven as the sound of many waters, as the sound of great thunders. The sound which I heard was like a harpist playing on his harp. And they were singing as a new hymn of praise before the throne, and before the four beasts, before the elders, and no one was able to learn the hymn, but the 144,000 redeemed from the earth. These are those who have not been defiled with women, for they are virgins who cleave to the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from men, the firstfruits to Elo-heem and to the Lamb. And there is no falsehood found in their mouths, as they are without fault. And I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, and he had with him eternal good news to preach to the dwellers of the earth, and unto the peoples, nations, generations, and languages, saying with a great voice, Stand in awe of Elo-heem, and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who has made the heavens and the earth, and the sea and the springs of water. And another and a second one followed him, and said, Fallen, fallen, Babylon the great, who gave all the nations to drink from the passions of her fornication. Another, the third angel, followed them, saying with a great voice, Whoever worshipped the beast and its image, and received its mark on his forehead, shall also drink from the wine of the passion of the Lord Jehovah, which is mixed without dilution in the cup of his rage, and he will be tormented by fire and brimstone before the holy angels and before the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends for the eternity of eternities, and there is no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and its image, and for him who takes the mark of his name. There is the patience of the holy ones, those who keep the commandments of Elo-heem and the faith of Yeshua. And I heard a voice from heaven that said, Write, blessed are the dead from now on, who have departed in our Lord. Yes, say the Spirit, because they shall rest from their labors. And behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud sat the likeness of a man. And he had on his head a crown of gold, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel went out from the temple, and shouted with a great voice to him sitting on the cloud, Send your sickle and reap, because the hour of reap has come. He who sat on the cloud thrust his sickle into the earth, and the earth was reaped. Another angel went out from the temple which is in heaven, and there was with him a sharp sickle. Another angel went out from the altar, who had the authority over fire, and he shouted with a great voice to him who had the sharp sickle with him, Send your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vineyards of the earth, because its grapes are large. And the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vines of the earth, and cast them into the great winepress of the passions of Elo-heem. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress unto the bridle of the horses for 1,200 stadia. Deuteronomy 15. Septuagint. Every 7th year thou shalt make a release, and this is the ordinance of the release. Thou shalt remit every private debt that thou neighbor owes thee, and thou shalt not ask payment of it from thy brother. It has been called a release for YEHOVAH thy Elohim. Or of the stranger you shall not ask again whatsoever he has of thine hand, but to the brother of thou shalt not remit his debt to thee. For thus there shall not be a poor person in the midst of thee. For Jehovah your Elohim will surely bless thee in the land, which Jehovah thy Elohim gives thee by inheritance. Thou shouldest inherit. And if ye shall indeed hearken unto the voice of Jehovah your Elohim, to keep and do all these commandments, as many as I charge thee this day. For Jehovah thy Elohim has blessed thee in the way which he spoke to thee. Then thou shalt lend to many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. Thou shalt rule over many nations, but they shall not rule over thee. And if there shall be in the midst of thee a poor man of thy brethren in one of thy cities in the land, which Jehovah your Elohim gives thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, neither shalt thou by any means close up thy hand from thy brother who is in want. Thou shalt surely open thy hand to him, and shalt lend him as much as he wants according to his needs. Take heed to thyself there not to be a secret thing in thy heart, and iniquity, saying, The 7th year, the year of release, draws nigh, and thy eye shall be evil to thy brother, and that is in want, and thou shalt not give to him, and he shall cry against thee, O Jehovah, to Jehovah, and there shall be a great sin in thee. Thou shalt surely give to him, and thou shalt lend to him as much as he wants, according to as he is in need, and thou shalt not grudge in thy heart as thou givest to him, because on this account Jehovah thy Elohim will bless thee in all thy works, in all the things in which thou shalt lay thine hands. For the poor shall not fail off the land. Therefore I charge thee to do this thing, saying, Thou shalt surely open thy hands to the poor brother, and to him that is distressed upon thy land. And if thy brother or sister, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold to thee, he shall serve thee 6 years. And in the 7th year shall send him out free from thee. And when thou shalt send him out free from thee, thou shalt not send him out empty. Thou shalt give him provisions for the way from thy flock, and from thy corn, and from thy wine. As Elo-heem thy Jehovah thy Elohim has blessed thee, thou shalt give to him. Thou shalt remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and Jehovah thy Elohim redeemed thee from hence. Therefore I charge you to do the same. And if he should say to thee, I will not go out from thee, because he continues to love thee, and thy house, because he is well with thee. Then thou shalt take an awl, and bore his ear through to the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. In like manner shalt thou do to thy maidservant. Ezekiel 41, Septuagint. And he brought me into the temple, and the porch which he measured 6 cubits breadth on one side, and 6 cubits of breadth on the porch on the other side. And the breadth of the gateway was 10 cubits, and 10 pieces of the gateway were 5 cubits on this side, and 5 cubits on that side. And he measured the length of 4 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits. And he went into the inner court, and measured the posts of the door, 2 cubits, the door 6 cubits, the side pieces of the door 7 cubits on one side, and 7 cubits on the other side. And he measured the length of the doors 40 cubits, and the breadth 20 cubits, in front of the temple, and he said, This is the Holy of Holies. And he measured the wall of the house 6 cubits, and the breadth of each side 4 cubits round about, and the sides were twice 90, side against side. And there was a space in the wall of the house, and the sides round about, that they should be for them that take hold of them to see, and they should not at all touch the walls of the house. And the breadth of the upper side was made according to the projection out of the wall, against the upper one round about the house, that it might be enlarged above, and the men might go up to the upper chambers, from those below, and the ground sills of the 3rd story. And for the height of the house round about, each space between the sides equal to the 6th of the reed of cubits. And the breadth of the wall of each side without was 5 cubits, and the spaces that were left between the sides of the house. And between the chambers were a width of 20 cubits in the circumference of the house. And the doors of the chambers were towards the space left by the one door that looked northward, and there was one door southwards. And then the breadth of the remaining open space was 5 cubits in extent round about. And the partition wall in the front of the remaining space towards the west was 70 cubits in breadth. And the breadth of the partition wall was 5 cubits round about, and the length of it 90 cubits. And he measured in front of the house a length of the house and the walls 100 cubits, and the remaining spaces and the partitions of the walls thereof in length of 100 cubits. And the breadth in front of the house and the remaining spaces before it were 100 cubits. And he measured the length of the partition in front of the space left by the back of the parts of the house. And the spaces on this side and on that side were in length 800 cubits. And the temple and the corners and the outer porches were sealed. And the windows were latticed, giving light round about 3 stories, so as to look through. And the house and the parts adjoining were planked round about, and so was the floor, and the floor up to the windows. And the window shutters folded back in 3 parts, for one to look through. Almost all the way of the inner and close to the outer side, upon all the wall round about, within and without, were carved cherubs, palm trees between the cherubs, and each cherub had 2 faces. The face of a man was towards one palm tree on one side and on the other side, and the face of a lion towards the other palm tree on this side and on that side, and the house was carved round about. From the floor of the ceiling were cherubs and palm trees carved. And the holy place and the temple opened on 4 sides. In front of the holy places the appearance was as the look of a wooden altar, the height of it 3 cubits, and the length 2 cubits, and the breadth 2 cubits, and it had horns, and base of it, the sides of it were wood. And he said to me, This is the table which is before the face of Jehovah. The temple had 2 doors, and the sanctuary had 2 doors, with 2 turning leaves apiece, 2 leaves to one, and 2 leaves to the other door. There was carved work upon them, and the cherubs and the doors in the temple, and the palm trees according to the carving of the sanctuary. And there were stout planks in front of the porch without, and there were secret windows. And he measured from side to side to the roofing of the porch, and the sides of the house were closely planked. Ezekiel 42, Septuagint. And he brought me into the inner court eastward, opposite of the north gate. And he brought me in, and behold 5 chambers near the vacant space, near the northern partition, 100 cubits in length towards the north, and in breadth 50, ornamented according to the gates of the inner court, and arranged accordingly as the peristyles of the outer court, with triple porticos fronting one another. And in front of the chambers was a walk 10 cubits in breadth, and the length reaching to the 100 cubits, and their doors were northward. And the upward walks were in like manner, for the peristyle projected from it, even from the range of columns below. And there was a space between, so were their peristyles, and the space between, so that there were 2 porticos. For they were triple, and they had not pillars like the pillars of the outer ones. Therefore they projected from the lower ones, and the middle ones from the ground. And there was a light without, corresponding to the chambers of the outer court, looking towards the front of the northern chambers. The length of them was 50 cubits. For the length of the chambers, looking towards the inner court, was 50 cubits. And these were the ones that front the others. The whole was 100 cubits. And there were doors of these chambers in the outer outlet towards the east, so that one should go through them the outer court. By the opening of the walk of the corner, the south parts was towards the south, towards the remaining space, towards the partition, so were their chambers. And the walk was in front of them, according to the measures of the chambers towards the north, both according to the length of them, and according to the breadth of them, and according to all their openings, and according to all their turnings, and according to their lights, according to their doors. So were the measures of the chambers towards the south, and according to the doors the entrance of the walk, as it were the distance of a reed for light, and eastward, as one went in by them. And he said to me, the chambers towards the north, and the chambers towards the south, in front of the void spaces. These are the chambers of the sanctuary, wherein the priests of the sons of Zadok, who draw nigh to Jehovah, shall eat the most holy things. And there they lay the most holy things, and the meat offerings, and the sin offerings, and the trespass offerings, because the place is holy. None shall go in thither except the priest, and they shall not go forth in the holy place in the outer court, that they draw nigh to me to be continually holy, and may not touch their garments in which they minister. With defilement they are holy, and they shall put on the garments whenever they come into contact with the people. So the measurement of the house within this accomplished, and he brought me forth by the way of the gate, and looked eastward, and measured the plan of the house round about in order. And he stood behind the gate, looking eastward, and measured 500 cubits in the measuring reed. And he turned to the north, and measured it in front, the north side 500 cubits with a measuring reed. And he turned to the west, and measured it in front, and the west sides 500 cubits with the measuring reed. And he turned to the south, and measured in the front sides 500 cubits by the measuring reed. The 4 sides he measured by the same reed, and he marked out the house, and the circumference of the parts round about, a space of 500 cubits eastward, and the breadth of 500 cubits, to make a division between the sanctuary and the outer wall, that belonged to the design of the house. Proverbs 14, Septuagint. Wise women build houses, but a foolish one digs hers down with her hands. He that walks uprightly fears Elo-heem, but he that is perverse in his ways shall be dishonored. Out of the mouth of fools comes a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise preserve them. Where no oxen are, the cribs are clean, but where there is abundant produce, the strength of the oxen is apparent. A faithful witness does not lie, but an unjust witness kindles falsehoods. Thou shalt seek wisdom with bad men, and shalt not find it, but discretion is easily available with the prudent. All things are adverse to the foolish man, but the wise lips are the weapons of discretion. The wisdom of the prudent will understand their ways, but the folly of fools leads astray. The houses of transgressors will need purification, but the houses of the just are acceptable. If a man's mind is intelligent, his soul is sorrowful, and when he rejoices, he has no fellowship with pride. The houses of ungodly men shall be utterly destroyed, but the tabernacles of them that walk uprightly shall stand. There is a way which seems right to a man, but in the end it will reach to the depths of hell. Grief mingles not with mirth, and joy in the end comes to grief. A stout-hearted man shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man with his own thoughts. The simple believes every word, but the prudent man betakes himself to all afterthought. A wise man fears and departs from evil, for the fool trusts in himself, and joins himself in the transgressors. A passionate man acts inconsiderately, but a sensible man bears up many things. Fools have mischief for their portion, but the prudent shall take fast hold of understanding.
Evil man shall fall before the good, and the ungodly shall attend the gates of the righteous. Friends will hate poor friends, but the friends of the rich are many. He that dishonors the needy sins, but he that has pity on the poor is most blessed. They that go astray devise evils, but the good devise mercy and truth. The framers of evil do not understand mercy and truth, but compassion and faithfulness are with the framers of good. With everyone who is careful there is abundance, but the pleasure-taking and the indolent shall be in want. A prudent man is the crown of the wise, but the occupation of fools is evil. A faithful witness shall deliver the soul from evil, but the deceitful man kindles falsehoods. The fear of Jehovah is a strong confidence, and leaves his children a support. The commandment of Jehovah is a fountain of life, and it causes men to turn aside from the snare of death. In a populous nation is the glory of king, but the failure of the people is the ruin of the prince. A man slow of wrath abounds in wisdom, but a man impatient of spirit is very foolish. A meek-spirited man is a healer of the heart, but the sensitive heart is a corruption of bones. He that oppresses the needy provokes his Maker, but he that honors him has pity upon the poor. The ungodly shall be driven away in his wickedness, but he who is secure in his own holiness is just. There is wisdom in the good-hearted man, but in the heart of fools it is not discerned. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin diminishes tribes. An understanding servant is acceptable to a king, and by his good behavior he removes disgrace.